Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm Robbie Samuels, and it is my honor to be emceeing this incredible launch party. Celina is a good friend of mine, and I love that we're gathering here to celebrate this really great milestone amongst many that she plans in the next few months. So, we're going to hear about how she's taking over the world, one metaphor at a time. Before we dig into all this great content and our guest speakers, I just want to make sure that you're got what you need to be part of the Zoom experience. If you're here in the room and you'd like to be using captions, you can click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen to turn on the subtitles. That'll help you more fully participate. If you have a question for me or for Celina or for any of our speakers, you can write them in chat, but kindly write the word question in all caps before whatever that question is, just so we don't miss it amongst any other conversation chatter you might be having in the chat. And we do encourage you to be an engaged audience. And for many of you, that would mean turning on your camera. It might mean commenting and writing supportive notes in chat or responding to the poll that is up on the screen right now. If you want to stick around, we are going to have a very informal chat with the author at the end of this formal program. So that'll be happening at the end of this. We'd love for you to stick around for that as well. And without any further delay, I want to now give you the opportunity to meet our first guest speaker. And this is really interesting because I'm going to read something that I did not write, but it is actually by Celina to introduce this wonderful man who has been brought here to kind of share why he cares so much about this topic. So I'm happy to welcome a great friend and colleague of Celina's. Our next speaker, Carl Ulrichs, is a dynamic and beloved professional whose passion for getting the human side of organizations right has made a lasting impact. Bilingual in HR and finance, trilingual if you count basic Spanish, Carl brings a unique perspective to his work, blending sharp, critical thinking with a deep commitment to ethics and organizational success. Carl is one of fewer than 10 professionals to hold both the CSP and SHRM certifications. By the way, it turns out Celina Peerman is one of the other few. And he is presented for 25 consecutive SHRM annual conferences. Outside of his incredible expertise, Carl is tinkering with his first car, a 1927 Model T Ford, and wishes he'd stuck with his guitar lessons in high school. He's a true encourager, and his friendship and wisdom have been invaluable to Celina. Please join me in welcoming Carl. Carl, welcome to this stage. Go ahead and unmute. There we go.
Rookie mistake. And Robbie, I want you to come with me to everything I do on Zoom. Let me start with a warning. Best practices are obsolete. Let me follow up with a question. What animal are you? If you had a quote unquote totem animal, what would it be? And type it in your chat. I'd love to see what animals we have joining us here. Um, these are chaotic times. And we need to become chameleons. In my career in HR, as I've coached individuals in their journeys through organizational life, I've noticed that the ones that are adaptable and flexible and can build relationships and can anticipate change, they do better than the people who are trying to, let's say, resist the flow of chaos. They get swept away by it, as opposed to going with the flow and working with it. Um, okay, panda, lioness, owl, panda. So we got squirrel, we got cats, giraffe. Robbie, that's me. I love it. Well, understand that my call that best practices are obsolete means we have to adapt. And let me ask you a secondary question. What I want you to type in chat some task that you always do the same. Some task that's comforting because it's part of the flow of your daily life. With me, for instance, it's making coffee in the morning. But what in your life doesn't have to be at work that you find comfort in always doing the same? So be typing that in. Well, I return to the metaphor of the animals that fly like an eagle. Robbie, you're in Philadelphia. That was for you. We had The Wolf of Wall Street. We had Bull Market, Bear Market, Acting Like Sheep. Well, I would contend the reason I love this book and love the content of what Dr. Celina has done is that we have to go to the next step. And that's what this book's about, to give leaders the tool it takes to do that. Because we've always been told we need to be fast learners. This has those tools, but we also have to be fast forgetters. I found this cleaning up my desk. It's a VHS tape. I had forgotten those. So I'm looking at this list and I want to give you some advice and then a closing thought. Things that you always do. We've got get the mail, read the paper, morning run, uh, how I fix my hair, bedtime routine. Here's what the challenge I want you to do. The takeaway, if you will, on Dr. Celina's book. When you have the reserves, to practice your flexibility, to practice your agility, I challenge you to do whatever that is differently. Where it's become a mental nursery rhyme, I want you to do your hair differently. I want your bedtime routine to be different. I want you to, here's the real challenge. If you're a grocery shopper, next time you're in your favorite store, shop the store backwards. I dare you. This is the kind of mental exercise that will give you the tools to solve the problem with best practices being obsolete. So before my closing thought and handing it back over to the real star of the show, I want to give you new words to use. Instead of saying we are going to do best practices, read this book and tell people we're going to do next practices and do them first. With that, back to you, Mr. MC.
I love that. Challenge accepted. Next time I go to the grocery store. And now the person who needs no formal introduction, because she's the reason we're all here, I'm going to invite her to now come on stage and share a little bit about what's happened because of this book.
Thank you all. It is amazing to have you join us. And if you're watching the replay later, just know how eternally grateful I am. This has been, everyone says it's a process until you go through the process and you go, oh, this is really, really a process. And so we've learned some things. I remember saying last fall, I can't wait to be like through some of this so that I don't have to be first learning this, but that is part of the journey, right? So what we've done in this past month, we launched a pre-sale. It got us, quite frankly, many of you, thank you for investing in that. That got us inventory. And in this first month to 45 days, we have shared this resource, or people have committed to it for a couple of conferences coming up to the tune of about 2,000 copies. So I am thrilled because that gives us some go juice. It allows me to continue to communicate this message. We've recorded the audiobook that will be up later in February. We have conversation cards because sometimes people go, I don't want to read the book, but by the way, I'll look through a deck of cards. And as requested, I do have a quote for a plush animal coming of a chameleon. So, I think about just the conversations that this has engaged with, right? The opportunities. We've gotten our first 11 Amazon reviews. Some of you are here today. If not all of you, thank you. The Kindle is up. The hard copy is not available on Amazon. That's because I'm staging my own informal rebellion at the moment, but we'll talk about that later. And hard copies are available through our office right now and will be on Amazon. So just, it has, Robbie, to your question, right? It gets us started. This has been a long time coming for those of you who known me a long time. And I'm just delighted with this first month and the support and all of you just encouraging us along the way.
Before we move on, I just need to put into context what you just said about you having sold 2,000 copies. In the lifetime of a book, that would be tremendous. In the first year, most new books particularly self-published books, but if you look at all books, sell under 200 copies. 200 copies is sort of a good average. Self-published, it goes down to about 100 books in the first year. So, given giving that background, I mean, huge applause to you for what you've done, but you did not do this alone. So, let's take a moment to hear about the other people in the background, some of whom are on this call, who are on your team, not just helping you with the book, but helping you run your business and have some sort of work-life integration that keeps you sane. So, uh,
They
introduce your
are
team.
the reason I have any work-life balance as well, right? So my heartfelt shout out today to all of them. Some of them are able to make the call today. Tony Williams is here. Mel Gonerman is on our team. Cindy Raymer, Ann McLaughlin, Christina Graham. On that team, this has been part of the process. They've been part of me proofreading this and giving me content that or feedback that sometimes I didn't want to hear but needed to hear, right? All of it. Also with us today, and as part of our extended team, Amanda Runquist with Trivita Creative helped come up with the chameleon that is on the book and now part of our new logo. And Cinder Kelly is also here, and she has been an extension of our team as well in a couple of different ways and helping us run the in-person open house and launch party tomorrow in Waverly, Iowa. So if you happen to be nearby, it's champagne and chocolate from 4 to 6, and the whole team will be here. So that group has been amazing, Robbie, and I'm so grateful for their work on this.
I'm glad took a moment to give them a shout out because none of this happens alone. And I'm glad you have a good team support as well as an extended community. Speaking of which, you've had a little bit of early feedback. I want to hear about that. And I want to like frame this as what inspired you to write this book in the beginning. And I'll tell everyone listening that we're going to close the poll. There's like a couple of people who are just joining us. If you could answer that poll, we're going to come back to that in just a second. But if you could just give us a sense of, who did you write this book for? What inspired you? Was there something that triggered the idea? I mean, it's a big undertaking. So how'd we get down this path is basically what I want to know.
No doubt the book part of this has been a long time goal from a family of authors. And yet, this book started really not as 49 Chameleons. So originally it was 39 Squirrels. Stay tuned for that edition. This was not the first book. This was the second book. And like many times, we start out with an idea and we need to shift our focus and went, oh, but really, what do we want out of this? We want to talk about the topics that are in this book. It's important to the audiences I spend time with. And so it switched. Squirrels is coming later. 49 Chameleons was about change, leadership, strategy, and those topics we're going to talk about. And that's really what got us going on it. I wanted another way to get content out to my teams, out to the companies that I'm supporting, out to larger audiences. So it became Chameleons because we needed to, right? It was our logo. It's what we believe in.
That piece you just said, for anyone who's thinking about writing a book, often the book they first think to write is not their first book. And it's helpful to meet with people who can give you that feedback and help you not never write that book, but put that book in an order and sequence that makes sense, both for your brand, but also for the prospect who needs certain information first. It's all based on this question: what is your biggest challenge when adapting to change? So I just put the results on the screen and I'll just read these out for those who are watching the replay. And thank you for doing that. 46% was the highest number, and it's uncertainty about the outcome is their biggest challenge when adapting to change, followed by D, supporting others through it. And then we have adjusting quickly enough. And then lastly, letting go of the old way. I actually think letting go of the old way probably is higher in some ways, but it's not their first thing. But I have a feeling it's a tight second for a lot of people, much to Carl's point. What do you make of these results that you're seeing on your screen? How does it fit with what you know of this space?
Yeah, so uncertainty about the outcome as number one reminds us that it is okay. I really think we need to normalize doubt during change. We need to normalize doubt during change because uncertainty is a really uncomfortable spot to be in. It is the difference between here and there. And it's that space in between. So the fact that that came up at the top doesn't surprise me because it's the not knowing that can be sometimes the most challenging. Why do we let go? Why do we have a hard time letting go? It's because this is what we know, right? That's what we know. And so we want to hang on to it because it's the uncertainty that's probably more challenging. And so I often say, and by the way, it's quoted in the book, is that now I can say that. So isn't that cool? Like I've been wanting to say that. I can't even tell you how long. It's in the book. For me, right, part of that process of adjusting through is to understand that while things are changing, there are always things that are not changing. So while that may feel like a whole lot of uncertainty right now, like I don't know what this is going to go like, I don't know what that outcome looks like. Go back to what do I know? I know me. I know my abilities, or I know this team, or I know this set of circumstances, our values, our work, whatever that is for you, hold on to something, even during the uncertainty.
Your book could not have come at a better time in the world right now. So knowing that we cannot market to everybody who needs this, because change is afoot. Who is this specifically for? What kind of professional are you looking for? Like, what's happening in their life externally or internally that would make this book either one they should pick up themselves or a good gift for someone? Like, how do I think about who in my network to send this off to? Because it's beautiful. By the way, it's a beautiful book when we get the hardcover. Um, I'm excited for doing that, but how do I think about who would benefit the most?
I do suggest just slipping it on your boss's desk. That might be no. Okay, so that is a possibility. But our team is really focused on how do we build leaders? How do you build leaders at all levels? So my front line to my senior, what I really want this to do is be a boost of confidence. I want somebody to be able to pick it up in their role and say, I need a boost today. Like this change, this teamwork, this relationship. I'm struggling with something. I'm going to open it up to a page. I'm going to just pull that out today, which is the way it's designed. So my hope, it is leaders who are wanting to grow their skills because we know that the best leaders are continuous learners. And while it does fit professionals in all places in terms of type of work, because the key ideas are universal, one of the biggest surprises, if you were to ask me, Robbie, of what's come out in the reviews and the comments I've gotten in this past 45 days is that it's got a wider audience than I expected, right? That somebody who just needs a boost right now can find something in it that applies to them.
I love those kinds of books because it gives you that little oomph of energy when you need it.
Right? Yeah.
Um, and it's not, I mean, I think, the amount of content on this topic could be, one of those like huge 6 by 9, 300-page tomes. It wouldn't be as helpful. Speaking of which, what is the differentiator between this book about leadership, generally speaking, and other books, generally speaking, that focus on the topic of leadership?
It's not 600 pages, as you just mentioned, right? We took a very different approach. I have a habit of doing things that may not be the regular pathway. And while there are some books I really want to write, and they're much longer, that wasn't going to get us to where we wanted to go on this first one, which means it's about 50 pages of content. There's a reflection and an action item on each of these chameleons across those content areas of change, strategy, leadership, relationships, communication, and adaptability. So you can scoop in, pull out one idea, work with it, have a reflection and an action, go on. The other thing, and my compliments to Soar to Success Publishing on this one, for a great idea. There are QR codes throughout the book where you can take your phone, a smartphone, hit the QR code with your camera feature or an app. It will take you straight to a podcast of mine where without commercials or ads, because that's my commitment on those podcast episodes, it will then talk about that particular detail deeper. So on that page, they're scattered throughout the book. It's related to an additional podcast episode.
This is like a choose your own adventure book. Like
I grew up on those. It's not a
it's
surprise.
not a
Yep.
surprise. I love the multimedia aspect. I love the little like hidden treasure what else is going to be behind this door? Oh, look, it's Celina talking to me in her voice about this specific topic that I need right now. Um, it's a really cool concept. It is very outside of what is expected or norm for a first book. I'm curious if you felt resolute about this path or whether you have wavered. Like, did you get support early on from fellow speaker author types, or did you have people being like, "Oh, no, 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 you have to do you know, and what messaging were you getting, and how did you feel about your process as you were moving through this?
It's a great
I
question.
didn't know you were going to ask me
I got
that, so.
lots of encouragement. You know where the biggest doubt came from? What do you mean this isn't a bigger book? It's a 5 by 5. It's 50 pages. I'm supposed to come up with something else. All of those doubts were mine, not everybody else's. Every single one of them. And so part of this was it's won me over though. It's come out and I've seen examples where it's not intimidating. It's very practical. I can't wave my hands around in it. That's really the challenge, right? I can't use voice inflection. I can't go to my Muppet voice. I can't wave my hands. Those are the things that are really hard to get used to when you can't put them in a book. Yeah.
Which is why there is the QR code to your voice. As we wrap up this section and move to our guest speakers, I want to know if there, I mean, there's so many great takeaways. Do you have a couple of tips or takeaways that you want to leave us with that are in the book?
Okay. So if I go to the first chameleon in the book, this is page 1. It reminds us that on the reflection that change is personal. Responding to change is a deeply personal journey. No two people experience it the same way. So when we struggle with change, it's crucial to remember and understand the underlying reasons. This will help us navigate it more effectively. And really what the action item speaks to that is find your stubborn. Like when you lock in and go, I want you to stop and pause and ask yourself, what's that holdup about? The second point I would choose for today is number 27. It's page number 27. It's a reflection under the relationships category. And it says this: just as healthy relationships in our personal lives require effort, the same holds true for workplace relationships. Building effective relationships on the job takes intention, continuous effort, and a commitment to growth. In our personal lives, relationships take work. At work, they also take effort. And so, what are you doing to invest in relationships that help you be your most effective? It might be a once a year coffee. It might be a quarterly lunch. It might be a monthly check in. It might be a weekly hello.
So great. I just put in chat the information about where to get the book if you haven't already gotten your copy. We have your website for the paperback or the hardback version for now, which is right behind you. I love it. And, and
I've never been able to do that before. Just noting, right? That's called goals, right?
yeah, I
Never
know
been
this
able
is
to do
kind of
that.
like when you just gotten married and you're walking into the reception and the DJ like announces,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I think that you getting to say like it's in the book. Um, the Kindle version is on Amazon, and I'm going to talk in a little bit later about the benefits of getting the Kindle version, even if you're getting the paperback through Celina. Celina, let me pass this over to you now for you to introduce the first of our three guest speakers. Let me step off screen and let you do that.
Thank you. I am honored next to introduce someone who has been a true partner in inspiration, leadership, and friendship. My incredible colleague Chantel is a powerhouse on authenticity and boldness, dedicated to empowering women to break free from limitations and step into their full potential of fearless, confident leaders. What I've learned that sets her apart is her not only her passion for empowering others, but her ability to lead by example. We calm each other down when we need it and we fire each other up. Hopefully not at the same time, but sometimes we do, right? It's just the ability that she has reinforced in my own thinking about the importance of authenticity and connection. And those are themes that are woven all the way through 49 Chameleons. So it is my privilege to have her join us today, all the way from South Africa. And thank you, Chantel, for joining in this celebration with us.
Celina, it is such a pleasure and such an honor to be here and support you from afar, but soon in person, we hope. Now, we know growing up that there are two certainties in life: death and taxes. But even so, we don't know the hour of our last breath, nor do our taxes, sadly, remain the same every month. So the only constant that we have in this life is change. And you all said, 46% of you actually said that you are uncertain about the outcome. This denotes how much we are dealing with change at the moment. And in our world right now, we are hungry for leaders who will not only help us navigate this change, but also inspire confidence as we go through this journey. Now, when I met Celina, I had just joined the board of the Virtual Speakers Association International. It was an entirely new board. We were all 100% uncertain. We had no idea what we were doing. But Celina had this stabilizing energy that just made me reach out to her. And it wasn't long before we decided we were going to collaborate on VSAI's first ever podcast. Now, I must tell you, we brainstormed it, we strategized it, and we launched it within 1 month. Throughout this journey, what we've done is we've leveraged off each other's strengths. We've calmed each other down, we've fired each other up, sometimes at the same time. And today we've got a product that we're really, really proud of. I've always spoken about how relationship unlocks opportunity. And being a believer in the power of collaboration, it's been such a pleasure to work with someone who shares these values, someone who meets me exactly where I'm at. But more than that, someone who I can have bundles of fun with along the journey. Now, something Celina often says is every day is an opportunity to learn something new. But I've noticed she doesn't just say it, she actually lives it, she embodies it. She is a chameleon. Which made me dive into a couple of fun facts about chameleon. And the first thing I thought was, well, how do chameleons change their color? Do you know that they actually have special skin cells? And by expanding and contracting these cells on a cellular level, they change their color. Now, of course, my next question was, but why? Why would they want to change their color? And it's quite simple. They change their color in reaction to their environment, whether internal, moods and emotions, or external, what's going on in their world. But did you know that chameleons don't actually change their appearance to fit in? They change their appearance to stand out. So when we're facing change, I believe we can look at chameleons as a guide. And when we need to know how, we focus on small, steady little changes. We need to remember our why. As our environment changes, so we need to change. And let's not forget the fun fact. Let's not blend in as we apply this change, but let's rather stand out. So in closing, small and steady change, remember your why, and express your individuality along the journey. And this summarizes our very own chameleon, Celina. If you want more of these wisdom nuggets, there's 49 of them in the 49 Chameleons. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantel. How much fun, right? We had the opportunity to meet, and it has just continued, just sometimes you just make that connection. And really all of the speakers today who agreed to support me as part of this process has been such an important part of this journey, including our own Emcee. So thank you, Chantel, for sharing that. I love being able to introduce you next to my dear friend, Emcee Rusa. Emcee is the founder of the Safety Rack. And immediately from Emcee, I'm drawn to many people who are here today who just want to think differently about something. And I was so impressed. She has now developed that idea into a new nonprofit organization where she is leading conversations and getting manufacturers to change their practices, How heavy is that statement right there? On personal protective equipment, the equity gap, that not all bodies are created equal, and just because it's sized for one gender does not mean it fits others. And this is life changing. So she works across industries as a true trailblazer. She's led change to ensure well-fitting PPE is available for across all body types and women, sparking critical conversations about equity and safety in the workplace. I think we met over margaritas and ideas for a conference that we scripted out on a napkin. And that conference is now not only statewide, but Midwest-wise, and continues to grow every year. And it's Amy's vision and passion that has led that. So Amy, fantastic to have you as part of this celebration. It's all yours.
I thank you, Celina. You are a dear friend, and that is true. We met over margaritas, and one day I just said, I think I want to start a conference. I think I want to do this. And she pushed me to this idea to do this. She came to our conference. She was our keynote speaker, and I watched her move a room of women to want to be better in how they were leaders in the roles that they were at. And from there, I started listening to the podcast and started redeveloping myself as a leader. And then COVID happened. I took a little break from a leadership role. And as I developed out the safety rack, I've gotten back into that leadership role. I've gotten a new job in the last 3 years that's taken me back into leadership. And because of that, I've had a lot of doubts. Could I be a better leader than I was before? Because I never felt like I was a good leader before. Could I lead my team to want to be better leaders within themselves and develop themselves to be a better leader than I could be for them? And now I have a board of directors for my nonprofit that I have to lead. And with all that going on, and having also to carve out time for a personal life, I don't have time to read 300 pages or 600 pages of leadership book like right now. Would I love to? Absolutely. But when Celina had her book come out, it was a godsend at the right moment for me, because it's compacted enough that I can look at it as a daily affirmation. I can take it and I can flip to something in the morning as I'm drinking my coffee and just reflect as a leader. I can take a difficult conversation that I might be having with my employee, my client, or a manufacturer, and I can thumb through it for a perspective on it. And that has helped me over the last couple of weeks as a leader just redevelop myself and to make the changes that I need to keep moving forward, and to also reduce a little bit of that doubt and own my self-worth a little bit more. So I'm on here to say that if you have any of those doubts, if you don't have time to read that 300 to 600 page book, this is your little pocket guide, a daily thing. And this sits at my computer when I'm home. It sits in my backpack when I travel. It comes out on the airplanes when I'm out traveling. It is an amazing book, Celina, and I'm so proud of you, but I am so thankful that you wrote this for folks like me, because I needed this in my life. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, can I just say this part's really hard, like listening to all, right? Everybody I see the list of names of people who've come today and taken time out of like I could just cry all the way through this, right? And if I wasn't doing that already, I have to get ready for my next introduction. So thank you all for everybody logging on today. I'm getting a note from my daughter in the audience, right? Everybody. So thank you for that. And all the words, Amy and Chantel and Carl, and Robbie leading the way. We have one more speaker to share with you today before we get to some prize wheel and some other takeaways. Robbie, am I at the right spot here? Right? All right. Next up. I know he's in the room. I haven't seen him yet.
I'm here.
I know. Thank you, little brother. All right. I'm thrilled to introduce Luke Malloy as a source of inspiration for me my entire life, minus the first 3.5 years, because then he chose to arrive, right? So we are each other's people as part of this family, and I am grateful. Now, while I could gush as his big sister, and he did agree to show up today, and he did, so thank you very much. He is someone whose wisdom and kindness and steady presence, a little different than maybe his sister, right? Um, it has shaped who I am. So Luke Malloy also by his own right, and not only am I super proud of him as a person, a husband, a dad, and a friend to many, he is an accomplished professional himself. And so he gets to be here today to share his ideas on where he also sees this work apply in his day job as a total rewards executive with a gift, many gifts, but in this particular case, for simplifying complex systems while really building transparent, flexible compensation strategies that make a meaningful impact because we need that within our communities so our employees can thrive. And he's done it across global industries. He's known for being very pragmatic. I've known that since day one. His collaborative leadership style, his ability to navigate change with grace, and his dedication to creating solutions that drive results. I am super excited, not only how he's influenced in my own journey, but also as part of this adventure. Please welcome Luke Malloy, my brother, to joining us today.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Um, I've spent, well over 30 years in mostly Fortune 250 organizations. I've been very fortunate to um, have lots of roles in big companies. And I think as I've learned more about what my sister does and what she preaches. I think we can all have an appreciation for just because you're in some big fancy Fortune 50 company, they don't have it figured out anymore than your mom and pop business. And anybody who thinks otherwise just hasn't been there. In fact, you could probably say I've been in a lot more screwed up environments than a lot of people who have maybe spent their careers in much smaller organizations. So, it really gets down to the universal truths about human behavior, prioritizing, navigating uncertainty. It doesn't matter if it's a family business or, a multi-billion dollar conglomerate. There are lessons for everybody at every level to learn. And, uh, s- s- Selena's done a wonderful job about trying to get that message out to as many people as possible, as we all deal with the human condition while we're, also trying to make these ginormous companies be successful and hopefully do some good in the world. So, we really all need that nudge, that reinforcement that we are doing the right thing. And I think that's what Selena's book, really does. And the guidance provides is just so, uh, you know, just that right size to get you, to get that little information nugget, and, have you go forward. And I think someone else may have mentioned this as well, but, we all have those, books, uh, 300, 400, 600 pages. And you know what? Like there's a place for filler and context, but once you kind of get through it once and you want to be able to go back, it's a little hard unless you've, dog-eared or highlighted or remembered that the key spot was on page 268. That's fine. But you know what? That's another great thing that, for uh for for this book, and I know some future ones she's also working on. It's just going to set the stage for more and more information to be readily available to us as we go about our day, and it can be a supplement to our day and not feel like we have to go pull out that book from our bookshelf to learn a little bit and try to apply it in the next meeting that we're in, or the next tough conversation we have to have in the afternoon. So, um, I know you guys would probably love me to tell some stories about, Celina when I was when we were kids. I won't. But I've been getting these nuggets out of 49 Chameleons in some form or fashion many years before all of you. But I'm very appreciative and proud, and it's um, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So thanks, everybody.
See, told you I was going to cry. All right. I don't know, Robbie, what's next? Come back on screen with me.
I'm going to let you have that moment.
Thank you.
Friends, the next thing we're going to do is a group photo. If you're willing and able to be on
That's right.
screen, we're going to give Celina a moment to
We
pull
knew that was
herself
going to happen.
together.
Thank you, Luke.
Carl's got a great hat that he just
Oh, the
pulled
hat.
on.
I was hoping you brought the hat.
He's got the hat. If you're willing
Excellent.
and able to be on screen, this would be a great time to do so. If we were in person, I'd be telling you to put your drinks down and get closer together, but we're not. What instead I'm going to do is ask you to tilt your camera if we cannot see you, because your name is very much hi, Bob, Christina. Your name's hiding your face. So there we go. We want everyone to sit up, and there we
Thank you all.
go. Now we can see
Yeah.
more of you. Um, awesome. Okay, here we go. We're gonna look up at the camera. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Perfect. How's that? No one blinked. I don't know if that really is true or not, but good enough. All right. I'm gonna just sticking with the sort of things we've talked about earlier about sort of where this goes next. Celina, we're gonna hear from you in a moment about how people can continue to support you and bring this into organizations that need it. But part of my role here is I'm a book launch strategist, and I have a focus on reviews, and I want to share why those reviews on Amazon, and in particular on Amazon, are so important because whether you love to buy from Amazon or you're going to go to your independent bookstore, which is totally awesome, if you want to buy directly from Celina, decision makers are going to go to Amazon to check on Celina. And if that book has very few reviews and no sales, it's not going to leave a very good look. And particularly because it is a different format, it's a different experience of a leadership book. We really do need people to write about the value of this content and how it's transformative and why the format's so easy to pick up. Everything you just heard a lot of these speakers say. And so I'm going to share in chat some prompts that you can use to write a really quick 2 or 3 sentence review. You do not need to write a book report. Any flashbacks you have to fourth grade, just take a deep breath, okay? It's not like that. You don't even have to read all
So true.
49. You just need to flip open fortune cookie style and just be like, "Ooh, that one spoke to me," and grab that. You can grab a quote that you like from the book and then talk about why you like it. It's an easy way to say it. You can talk about your experience, trying to get through leadership books and why you enjoy reading this one, whatever it is. Can we commit? It's Thursday. Can we commit like a week from tomorrow? Can we get her to 50? I mean, it's going to help her stand out from all the other leadership books by having that. It's a little ask for her, but collectively it makes a big difference. And speaking of making a big difference, I know, Celina, you had a request about having conversations with people. So tell us a little bit about how folks that are here or who are watching can support you bringing this out into the world.
Yeah. So our team is really focused, on building leaders within organizations. And I've really refocused my efforts that if I can spend the next 10, 15, I don't know how many years, right? The rest of my life is really what it is on how do we build leader capacity. Then I'm going to live a life happy, to be able to build leaders at all levels and really understand fundamentally what that looks like, and how we get it to stick, because this leadership thing is hard. This was easy, everybody would be doing it well. And so we've re-engaged some of our resources, and I'm looking for research calls. So we have an opportunity today just to ask that if you're willing to give me 30 minutes of your time just for an interview with me, like, how are you doing this in your company? How are you helping people take those next steps? And I don't care where you are on that journey. You could get on the call with me and say, I have no idea. Like, here's some conversations I'm having. Fantastic. Tell me about those conversations all the way through. Here are the steps we go through. These are the plans we put in place. Then I want to know, how's it working for you? What would you add? What would you do differently? because one of the reasons behind this content in the multiple formats we're looking at it is because we know people learn differently. And a bit like Robbie's reference earlier, we didn't plan that, but it has been in the back of my mind all the way about choose your own adventure and choose your own ending of books that Luke and I both grew up with, that I want to be able to get content or options. And that's really been part of our team's work, whether I'm in person, whether it's through our on-demand learning portal, where we're seeing more and more leaders come into so that I can see them on site and then it's reinforced and it's not just an event, it's a plan. And I have companies now I have worked with for over 10 years building layers of leaders throughout the organization. And what I'm curious about is, how do we keep doing this going forward? What does this look like? How does it need to change, adjust based on the needs in our organizations? So those are the phone calls I'm looking for. Zoom calls that we can set up. Robbie, you've got the research note in there. You want to tell us about how they can
Yeah, I
jump
mean,
into that conversation?
even if you're a person who's on the receiving end of
Yeah.
professional development in this lane,
What's working for you? What's not
what,
working for you?
yeah, like
Yeah.
you're the end user. Like, is this the way you think a company should be running leadership programs? If you could write the word research in the chat, Celina will know that you've raised your hand, and then she'll reach out to you about scheduling that call. And I will tell you that we're not putting up any kind of like landing page or opt in because we don't want you to open it up on your computer screen and never actually get to it. It's a really simple thing. If you want to continue the conversation with her, not for a sales call, for a research call, I think it's really helpful. And also, I just want to say kudos to you. You are an expert in this space, someone I really admire. Your willingness to step back and ask these questions is part of your brilliance because a lot of experts reach a point where they just say, I know what everyone needs. And then they just package things according to what they think people need. The fact that you realize that we are in a transformative moment, there's a tremendous amount of change happening, and this is coming into our workplaces. It's not something, it's not like it's separate. We're human beings, multifaceted. So you recognizing that and seeing what people might need in this moment. So whether you decide to say yes, to this opportunity now, or you want to reach out after the fact, this is a wonderful thing. And now we're going to give away some prizes, and then we're going to get to Q&A. So if you have any questions for Celina, you can drop them in there now. Ideally, write the word question in all caps before your question, just so I can see that that's what it is. We're going to be giving some things away. A signed book of the 49 Chameleons. We have the companion journal, which you can talk about, and then a signed copy of book 2. So what I'm showing on the screen is book 2. So we
Yeah.
can talk a little bit about that. So can you tell us a little bit about the series? I know this is a multi-part book. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, so I mentioned a moment ago, it started with 39 squirrels, and we just decided that couldn't come out first. We had to go with kind of that more piece to it. So 49, okay, can I just say after these 3 books, I'm not sure animals are still at play, but we'll see. Carl may have changed my mind today. But 49 chameleons, and then we're going to 29 owls. So 49 chameleons, you heard what that's about, or you picked up your copy. 29 owls is about decision making, hard conversations, and accountability.
New subtitle to reflect contents of this
Yes.
particular book.
So, okay, so Amanda Runquist is here. She sent me this mock-up, right? And I went, oh, we're still leaving that on there. Like we
So
know
wonderful.
that's on the picture, right? And I just said, I don't know, to be determined, because it's still going to the publisher thanks to Sword of Success. It'll be there soon. So it is in process. We have the cover design. Like after the cover design, what else do you anyways, and then we're coming out later in May with 39 squirrels. So the way my world works is I've waited 54 years to publish a book, so I decided to do 3 of them in 5 months.
And we're going to invite you to another party at the end of these 3 to celebrate the success of all 3 collectively. But that doesn't mean that Celina won't be reaching out to you for book 2 and book 3 to help you get the word out and get those reviews up, because it will matter for all the books. We have the prize wheel. The second prize we didn't really talk about. There's a companion journal for the first book. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what's in play is that there's a mini available for each of the 3, and then a printed workbook that will go for all 3 of them. And really, if you follow the process, right? Change strategy, leadership, relationships, communication, adaptability, decision-making, hard conversations, accountability, priorities, focus, and alignment, right? That's my entire training curriculum right there. But it also has a sequence for how we grow skill sets and how we develop leaders who are ready to take us forward.
Awesome. So this first book, the first prize is a signed copy of the first book. And this is everyone who was signed up as of this morning. I'm going to just do a little prize wheel
Ooh, look at
spinny.
that. Look at those colors. Fun. All right, who's got it? Oh, Helena. All right.
All right. So we're
Nicely
going to
done.
grab the name and we'll just drop this in chat so we don't lose track for later. There we go. And we're going to remove. Congratulations. Now the second one is for a signed copy of the companion workbook journal.
Yeah. Oh, good. There we go. Oh, Christopher. Okay, Michelle's got it. Michelle, thank you.
Wow, right on the cusp there.
I was. Christopher may negotiate with me for that later.
And this last one is a signed copy of book 2, which is on its way in a couple of months.
Oh, hey, Anne stayed in there. Okay.
Do we spin again?
We spin again. Anne's going to get one. So Anne is the name many of you know on our book launch team coordinating all of this. Sorry, Anne. I'll pay for that later. Good. Lori and Michelle have both been longtime clients and just happy to support you and your endeavors. Super. Thank you, Lori.
We're going to kick off another poll here, the last poll,
yes.
just so we can get a sense of where people are now. So if you had a chameleon superpower, which skill would you use most often? A, the ability to blend into any environment. B, knowing when to stand out. C, staying calm during rapid changes. Or D, supporting others in adapting. I have to just say that little tidbit that we got from Chantel about about chameleons is counter to everything I learned as a kid. So
it is.
I love that.
It is, which is exactly why we put it in the book. Because the fact, Amanda Runquist, who's on with us today, our partner in graphic design and creative work, is the one who brought it to our attention that those cells are designed to reflect. And we just couldn't think of a better way. I've been calling myself chameleon for years because I literally start out the morning in a hard hat and the afternoon in a training room on site, hopefully in sandals because they just make me happier. But all the different environments we have to navigate. So
all right, let's take a peek at these results.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
Top result is supporting others and adapting, 52%.
Love that.
A tie for second place, staying calm during rapid changes and knowing when to stand out. And then we have a person who wants the ability to blend in.
Well, I sometimes I do too, right? Sometimes
I think we all have moments.
Tuck in.
There's a reason you have a hard hat sometimes. Protection is necessary.
I do, because I have to. But even though the question was a little fun just to end our time together on, sometimes we just need a rest, right? And blend in for just a moment to catch our breath, to do what we need to do, right? But really the challenge here is, okay, when you've done that, when you've rested, what's your next step? And so we can stand out, we can stay calm, and we can support others.
So if anyone does have a question that they want to ask during the recording, we'll give you an opportunity to do so now in the chat. We are going to have an informal chat with the author for those of you who are able to stick around for a few minutes. But I have a couple of questions, and this is a funny thing because I think sometimes people read a book and don't realize that the author is also a speaker or the author is also a consultant. So I just feel like it's important for us to name some of these things that you were able to do to support people. So, if someone's reading the book or books, plural, and they're like, oh, we need this. Like, what are the ways that you can show up and offer value?
Where my strengths lie are in facilitating learning experiences, whether that's a couple of people, a couple dozen people, and that's more of a interactive style classroom learning environment. Whether that is in a larger setting where it's an association, a conference, a keynote, where we're trying to now address a wider audience, different style, different type of engagement. And so we have the live in person, small group or large group, virtually like this, right? We can connect from anywhere. And then one of the things that our team has really focused on this last couple of years is how do we get content to people in multiple ways, in the ways they best learn. So for some of my companies, that's a third shift lead who's working all night long and really doesn't want to come in for training the next day at 11 o'clock. And so we've developed options that are available on our learning management system too. It's on-demand learning with me on video, waving my hands and doing all these antics, but the same content. And so what we're looking for and the way we want to be able to show up for companies is help them design their program. Not the Celina show, but what are the content areas they need in ways we can get them. So it's small group, large group, on demand, podcast. We have 26 hours of listening out there in case you haven't paid attention to the podcast. There's 82 episodes. New ones come out in February. Now the books, we're just going to keep exploring all the ways. In fact, this week, my team would tell you, this month we got the Spanish translations done for much of our offerings as well. And so we're just excited to look at different options of ways, Robbie, as you said, thank you for that we can add value into conversations.
I just put a link to your website, workplacechameleon.com, because that is a source for all the things you're talking about, including the podcast, the future books, the current books, etc. So that's a place we can keep sending people if they want to know more about you or want to reach out to you after the fact, or if they aren't here on the call. I'm curious about what was a surprising thing that happened, whether it's in the process of writing the book or when you had the book. Was there something someone said to you or an experience that you had with a reader that were like, oh, like you don't know the doors that are going to open until the book's there. Like you had a good plan in place, but does anything kind of catch you a little like, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen?
I think my team would tell you I didn't have a good plan in place, but we worked on one, right? Because I do wing it a lot in this life. Last Friday I sat with a group for the first time and we did a couple of lessons out of it. And that was a first, right? I hadn't done that before. And then I had a second experience with one particular individual and the copies were sitting out and it was a group I was working with. And I said, take one if you want, because if it's not your thing, don't worry about it. Right. That was part of the agreement with the client. And I really want to honor that. Like if somebody's not a book person, I'll have other options for you. And I had one guy look at me and goes, not a reader, like all good. There'll be stuff later. Or do you want to have a conversation, or what other way can I help support your own learning? Because nope, don't want to read the book. I said, okay. So we went on about our time. We took a break later. I came back from break. He'd picked it up and he was sitting over off the side, paging through it. And I watched him for solid 10 minutes. So I think those unexpected moments, right, where it just may have been a little bit, Luke used one of my favorite ideas about nudges earlier. And just sometimes you just never know where that nudge is going to come from. And if it might have been something in there, I just didn't expect how I'd feel. Like, I'm happy for him. I'm used to watching, I want other people to be successful. But all of a sudden to sit there with that content with my client and that group and to hear it and to have them talk about it. And then just to watch the one guy go and looked at it and sat with it and used it was unexpected. I want that in other people. I just didn't expect the reaction I get.
This is so awesome. We're going to now stop the formal recording and the spotlight and all of that. I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching, who stuck around to the end. And for those of you who are in the